Alright, the first thing I did was I had to organize the parts. Alright, here I'm cleaning off the contact pads on the printed circuit board that holds the motor to the chassis. For all the cleaning stuff I use Deoxit. It works really well. In here I'm cleaning the brushes for the motor, getting them shined up. Now I'm cleaning off the commutator. For this I just used a Q-tip and then spun the commutator around the Q-tip. It worked really well to pick up all the grime that was caked onto the commutator. Checking to see if there's any grime left on it. Carbon buildup, and we'll spray it a little bit. Spray it with some Deoxit here. Allow that to soak for a while. We'll come back to that. I'm going to keep working on the brushes with the Q-tip. They were really pretty black with carbon buildup. Alright, back to cleaning the commutator after it's had a chance to soak in the Deoxit. So I'm just rotating the shaft and it spins the commutator against the Q-tip. There's a little bit left in there. Alright, so this looks a little dangerous, but what I'm actually doing is cleaning out the gaps between the commutator pads. If there's carbon built up in between those, it can cause problems, specifically shorting out, which would mean the motor won't run. It's almost like dental work, actually. Have to be really careful with that. Now this looks even more dangerous, but what I'm doing is taking the knife and cleaning off a pile of goo, the old glue that held the motor to the printed circuit board. So I'm getting that smoothed down a little bit before I re-glue it back together. That's pretty good, so now I'll just wipe that down a little bit. I guess I approve. Alright, so I'll take the super glue. And super glue works really well gluing metals to things. So the the motor is metal and it sticks extremely well. Just put a little dab of it and smooth it on where the old patch of glue was. Be careful not to get it inside the motor. Line it up the correct orientation on the printed circuit board. It took me a little bit to get it. And there we go. Stick it together, hold it for a few seconds, and let it set. Make sure it's lined up perfectly straight too. So I'm just adjusting it slightly so that it lines up straight, that the worm gears line up with the gears. Now I'm just adding some heavyweight gear oil to the drive system on the wheels. And the same on the other one. For the bearings, I actually use a lightweight oil. So I use two different kinds of oil on this. All right, time to install the brushes. This is a little bit tricky because they're very tiny. What I had to do is drop it in the hole and then get it to sit up against the commutator and then align the spring so it held it in place. Once that was done, it stayed put. Now it works. It goes both directions too. Add a little bit more oil on the bearings, and then I'll be installing it momentarily into the chassis. Got a little too much on that side. Alright, I cleaned out a little bit of grime from the chassis. Now we're ready to install the motor into the chassis. Again, making sure it's oriented correctly. And then it's just a matter of popping the printed circuit board into the clips that hold it in place. Once it's around those, it just drops into place. And the motor and printed circuit board are finished. I'm going to add a little bit of gear oil to the large worm gears before I put the trucks back in place. All right, we'll put the front truck on. They are a slightly different shape, so you just have to make sure you have the right one on the front and the right one on the back. It should just snap into place. Actually, it doesn't really snap, it just sits there. Put the front truck on, then the back truck, and then the fuel tank. Snaps in between and actually holds them apart so they don't fall out. They appear to be aligned correctly. All right, so we'll snap the fuel tank in. It's the piece that actually holds the trucks in place. That's it. And that's the final assembly. Let's test it out. All right, before I test it though, I'm going to add just a smidge more oil to the gears, just to make sure they're thoroughly lubricated. It's okay to use plenty of oil on the gears as long as it doesn't get on all over everything else. All right, we'll test it out. Mission accomplished. The project is complete.